Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to demystify one of the most powerful forces shaping, well, pretty much everything around us, fiscal policy. It's basically the government's playbook for managing the economy, and if you want to understand the markets, you've got to understand this.
All right, so here's our game plan for the next few minutes. We'll start with the government's main economic tools. Then we're going to peek inside the public budget, where the money comes from and where it all goes. We'll get into the two core strategies. Think of it as a gas pedal at a brake, and then talk about what happens when the nation's credit card bill gets a little too high. And most importantly, we'll see how all of this trickles down to affect you, and we'll wrap it all up with the grand balancing act that holds it all together.
Okay, so first up, what exactly is this toolkit that governments are using to influence everything from jobs to the price of your groceries?
When the economy is booming or when it suddenly slows down, it can feel like a runaway train with no one at the controls. But here's the thing. While there are tons of forces at play, the government absolutely has its hands on a very powerful steering wheel.
And that steering wheel is fiscal policy. To put it simply, it's just how the government uses its power to spend money and collect taxes to try and keep the economy on a steady path. It's this constant push and pull to keep things stable and growing.
So how does this actually work in the real world? Well, it all comes down to the public budget. Think of it as the government's massive checkbook, laying out exactly where every dollar comes from and where it's supposed to go.
First, let's follow the money coming in. The government's income, it's fueled mostly by taxes. We're talking direct taxes, like the income tax that comes right out of your paycheck, and indirect taxes, like the VAT or sales tax you pay on just about everything you buy.
And then, poof, here's where all that money goes. We're talking about massive public spending on Social Security and healthcare, building roads and bridges, funding schools, and of course, defense. The whole shebang.
Now, when you put those two sides together, money in versus money out, you get the budget balance. In a really good year, the government might actually bring in more than it spends. That's called a surplus. But let's be honest, more often than not, it runs a deficit, spending more than it earns. And just like for you or me, that gap has to be filled by borrowing money. So this brings us to the really interesting part. How does the government actually use this budget to steer? Well, it basically has two main moves. You can think of them as hitting the gas pedal or tapping the brakes on the economy. And this is where you see the fundamental trade-off. If the economy is sluggish, the government can hit the gas. That's expansionary policy, spending more or cutting taxes to get more cash into people's hands. The risk? Well, you could rack up a ton of debt and spark inflation. On the other hand, if things are overheating, they can tap the brake. That's restrictive policy, cutting spending or raising taxes. But if they brake too hard, they could stall the whole economy and cause a recession.
So how much bang do you get for your buck when you hit the gas? That's what the fiscal multiplier tells us. Think of it like a ripple effect. If the multiplier is bigger than 1, it means every single dollar the government spends, say on a new highway, actually creates more than $1 in economic activity. It's a huge boost, especially during a recession. But if the economy is already humming along, that multiplier can be pretty low.
Now, that decision to keep hitting the gas pedal and run deficits year after year, well, it has a major consequence. All of that borrowing doesn't just vanish, it piles up, and that creates what we call public debt. The easiest way to think about public debt is as a national credit card balance. It's the grand total of everything the government has borrowed over the years. Now, a little bit of debt isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if it's used for smart investments. But too much of it can really tie a country's hands down the road.
So how can you tell if that national credit card bill is getting out of hand? The single most important number that everyone watches is the debt to GDP ratio. See, it's not about the raw dollar amount of debt, it's about how big that debt is compared to the size of the entire economy. For investors, this ratio is the #1 sign of a country's ability to pay its bills.
Okay, so why does any of this really matter to you? Because these huge, high-level government decisions create massive ripples that flow directly into financial markets. And yeah, that includes your investments.
It sets off a pretty clear chain reaction. When a government starts borrowing a ton of money, investors get nervous. The perceived risk goes up. And to convince them to keep lending, the government has to offer higher interest rates on its bonds. All that uncertainty can even cause the country's currency to get weaker.
But, of course, the opposite is also true. If a government slams on the brakes with what's called austerity, slashing spending to get debt under control, it can make investors feel a lot more confident. The big danger, though, is that if they cut too much, too fast, they can choke off the economy and tip the whole country into a recession.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, you see that fiscal policy isn't about finding one perfect answer. It's a constant, incredibly difficult balancing act between pushing for growth and making sure the country stays financially stable.
And here's the key takeaway. Fiscal policy isn't just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet. It's really the expression of this delicate dance between the government, the business world, and the flow of money around the globe. If you understand these decisions, you're on your way to understanding the markets.
You know, in our totally interconnected world, trying to keep track of this balance is unbelievably complex. You have to connect the dots between these huge macro policies and how individual companies are doing. The goal is always to turn this absolute flood of data into a clear strategy.
So the next time you hear a debate about a new government budget or a change in taxes, you can ask the real question. Look right past the politics and see the mechanics. Are they hitting the gas or are they tapping the brakes? And what's that going to mean for the ride ahead?